What if the answer to protecting your kidneys was sitting in your kitchen right now and you had no idea it was working against you or for you, depending on what you chose? Because most people spend years managing the wrong part of the problem. They cut salt, they drink more water, they take the medication their doctor prescribed, and those things matter. But what very few people ever address is the daily opportunity sitting on their plate 3 times a day to either burden their kidneys or actively support them.
I want to talk to you today about 4 specific foods that do something most foods cannot. They don't just avoid stressing the kidneys, they actively help them do their job better. They support filtration, they reduce the internal inflammation that quietly damages kidney tissue over time, they assist the body in moving waste out before it accumulates, and the ones I'm going to describe are not expensive, exotic, or hard to find. They are ordinary foods that most people either underestimate or eat in the wrong form.
I'm Dr. Renata Sims, and I've spent years working with patients managing early to moderate kidney concerns, many of whom came to me believing their only option was to keep taking more medication and wait for things to get worse. What I've seen consistently is that what people eat daily makes a measurable difference, not as a replacement for medical care, but as a genuine partner to it. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly which 4 foods deserve a regular place in your diet, why each one works at a biological level, and how to incorporate them practically starting today. Subscribe before we go any further. I put this channel together specifically for people who want medically grounded, clearly explained guidance on protecting long-term kidney health, and there is much more ahead. Let me start with a question. Do you know what your kidneys are actually doing right now while you sit and watch this video? Your 2 kidneys process roughly 200 liters of blood every single day. They pull out waste products, excess minerals, fluid that doesn't belong, and compounds the body no longer needs. They manage the delicate balance of sodium, potassium, calcium, and acid that your cells depend on. They produce hormones that tell your bones to absorb calcium and your bone marrow to make new red blood cells. They are among the most metabolically active organs in your entire body, and they do all of this without a single sensation to tell you whether they are thriving or struggling. That last part is the dangerous part. Kidney deterioration is typically silent for years. By the time symptoms like persistent fatigue, nighttime swelling in the ankles, foam in the urine, or more frequent urination at night become noticeable, the kidneys have often already lost a significant portion of their functional capacity. The window for meaningful dietary and lifestyle intervention is wide open in the years before those symptoms arrive, and most people don't use it because they don't know it exists. These 4 foods are for that window, for the person who wants to be proactive before problems become irreversible. Food 1. Beans. Beans may be the single most underappreciated food in kidney health conversations. People think of them as a cheap, filling carbohydrate, useful for soups, useful for budgets, not particularly medicinal. That impression misses a great deal of what beans are actually doing in the body. Let's start with fiber, because fiber is where beans earn their place at the top of this list. Most adults are eating a fraction of the fiber their bodies need. The kidneys are not directly a digestive organ, so you might wonder what fiber has to do with kidney function at all. Here's the connection. A significant portion of the waste your kidneys must filter originates in the gut. When digestion is slow, incomplete, or disrupted, waste products, including nitrogen compounds from protein breakdown, circulate in the bloodstream longer, placing a higher filtration burden on the kidneys. Dietary fiber accelerates gut transit, feeds the beneficial bacteria that reduce inflammatory compounds, and essentially reduces the volume of waste arriving at the kidneys for processing. Less incoming load means less strain on tissue that is working hard every hour of the day. Half a cup of cooked beans delivers between 6 and 9 grams of protein alongside substantial soluble fiber. That protein is important because it supports cell repair and immune function, but it arrives without the heavy phosphorus and acid load that animal protein brings. Animal protein, particularly in large quantities, causes the kidneys to work significantly harder to excrete the byproducts of its metabolism. Plant protein from beans produces a gentler metabolic signal. For someone whose kidneys are already under any degree of strain, that gentleness matters. Beans also contain meaningful amounts of magnesium, a mineral that most people are deficient in, and that supports blood pressure regulation, which is directly connected to kidney health. Elevated blood pressure is one of the 2 primary drivers of kidney deterioration, the other being elevated blood sugar. Magnesium helps relax the smooth muscle and arterial walls, contributing to lower resting blood pressure. Kidneys that are not fighting against chronic high pressure age more slowly. The antioxidant compounds in beans, particularly the dark-colored varieties like black beans and kidney beans, are worth specific mention. Flavonoids and polyphenols are plant compounds that neutralize oxidative stress in tissues. The kidneys are particularly vulnerable to oxidative damage because of the sheer volume of blood they process. Reducing oxidative load in kidney tissue is one of the genuine mechanisms through which diet can slow the progression of functional decline. One practical note. For people who have been told by their doctor to limit potassium because their kidneys are already struggling to regulate it, beans should still be discussed individually with your care team rather than avoided entirely. Leaching, soaking dried beans overnight, and discarding the water before cooking reduces potassium content meaningfully. The form and preparation method matters. For most people in the early or prevention stages, beans 3 to 4 times per week are a straightforward, affordable, evidence-supported addition to a kidney protective diet. Foot 2 tofu occupies an interesting position in kidney nutrition. It tends to be dismissed as a niche food, something people eat because they don't eat meat, not because it offers something meat cannot. But from a kidney physiology standpoint, tofu has a profile that animal protein sources genuinely cannot match. Here's the core issue with protein in kidneys. Your body needs protein for tissue repair, immune defense, hormone production, enzyme function. But protein metabolism generates waste products, particularly urea and acid, that the kidneys must excrete. When protein intake is high and the protein comes primarily from animal sources, the kidneys are forced to increase their filtration rates significantly to handle that waste load. Over years and decades, that chronically elevated filtration rate contributes to the gradual scarring and stiffening of kidney tissue known as glomerulosclerosis. Tofu is a high-quality plant protein that does not create the same filtration demand. Half a cup of firm tofu provides a meaningful protein contribution, enough to support muscle maintenance, which becomes increasingly important after 60 while delivering very modest amounts of phosphorus, potassium, and sodium. Phosphorus is particularly relevant here. In patients with reduced kidney function, phosphorus accumulates in the bloodstream because the kidneys cannot clear it efficiently. Elevated blood phosphorus weakens bones, damages blood vessels, and accelerates kidney decline in a self-reinforcing cycle. Tofu's low phosphorus footprint makes it one of the safer protein sources for people managing any degree of kidney compromise. Beyond protein, tofu contains isoflavones, plant compounds with demonstrated anti-inflammatory properties. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the major mechanisms by which kidney tissue is damaged over time. Not the acute inflammation of infection, but the persistent low-level inflammatory signaling that gradually degrades filtration capacity. Reducing that background inflammation through dietary choices is one of the clearest ways food can influence kidney trajectory. Tofu is also remarkably versatile in a way that makes it sustainable as a regular dietary choice. It absorbs the flavors of whatever it is cooked with, which means it can substitute for animal protein in almost any dish without requiring a dramatic change in cooking habits. Scrambled with vegetables in the morning, added to soups or stews, grilled alongside other proteins at dinner, it fits into a real person's real life without demanding the kind of dietary sacrifice that people abandon within 2 weeks. The key is choosing the right variety. Firm or extra firm tofu provides the most protein per serving and the most practical cooking flexibility. Silken tofu, while useful in smoothies and certain preparations, delivers less protein and more water. For kidney support specifically, firm varieties are the better choice. Food 3. Apples. There is something almost disarming about an apple appearing on a list of kidney protective foods. It feels too ordinary, too familiar, too much like the vague nutritional advice people have been hearing since childhood. But the specific properties of apples, particularly the way they interact with the kidney's filtration burden, are genuinely worth understanding. The first reason apples belong here is what they contain very little of. For kidney health, a food's mineral profile is as important as what it provides. Apples are naturally very low in potassium, phosphorus, and sodium. For anyone whose kidneys are already under strain, whether from hypertension, diabetes, early chronic kidney disease, or age-related functional decline, this matters considerably. Many fruits that are otherwise nutritionally excellent, such as bananas, oranges, and dried fruits, carry potassium loads that compromise kidneys cannot clear effectively. Apples do not present that challenge. A medium apple delivers roughly 100 milligrams of potassium, a fraction of what higher potassium fruits provide, making it one of the genuinely safe fruit options even for people managing moderate kidney disease under medical supervision. But apples are not simply a food with useful absences. They contain quercetin, a flavonoid compound with documented anti-inflammatory and antioxidant activity. As I mentioned when discussing beans, oxidative stress is a significant contributor to kidney tissue damage. Quercetin is among the plant compounds that most effectively neutralize the free radicals generated by the kidney's constant high-intensity filtration work. Regular consumption of quercetin-containing foods is associated in population studies with slower progression of kidney function decline. Pectin, the soluble fiber found abundantly in apple flesh and especially in apple skin, plays a specific role in toxin clearance that most people are unaware of. Pectin acts as a binding agent in the digestive tract, attaching to heavy metals and certain metabolic waste compounds, and carrying them out through the stool rather than leaving them to be absorbed and circulated. This reduces the filtration burden arriving at the kidneys from the gut, the same mechanism I described with beans' fiber content. Less incoming waste arriving at the kidney through the bloodstream means less demand on already working tissue. The water content of apples, over 80% by weight, contributes meaningfully to overall hydration without requiring any special effort. Adequate hydration is one of the simplest and most consistently effective tools for kidney support. Well-hydrated kidneys produce urine that is sufficiently dilute to carry waste products out of the body efficiently. Concentrated urine, by contrast, is not only harder on kidney tissue, but is also the environment in which kidney stones most readily form. Eating foods with high water content throughout the day maintains baseline hydration in a passive, effortless way. The practical recommendation is simple. Keep apples accessible, one medium apple per day with the skin on, which is where the majority of quercetin and pectin are concentrated, is a meaningful, low-effort contribution to kidney health that fits into any dietary pattern. Food for yogurt. Yogurt is the food on this list that most surprises people because the connection between dairy and kidney health is not intuitive. Many people associate dairy with the phosphorus and potassium concerns I have been describing throughout this video. And it is true that for people with advanced kidney disease and severely restricted mineral intake, dairy requires careful management. But for the majority of people, including those in the earlier stages of kidney concern, plain yogurt, and particularly Greek yogurt, offers a combination of properties that genuinely support kidney function in ways that are difficult to replicate with other foods. Start with protein quality. Greek yogurt is among the most bioavailable and complete protein sources available, delivering approximately 10 grams of protein per half cup. Unlike the animal proteins in red meat and processed meat, which generate substantial acid and waste loads as they are metabolized, the whey and casein proteins in yogurt are processed relatively efficiently by the body. They support muscle maintenance, which is critical after 60 because muscle loss accelerates the rate of protein-related metabolic waste the body produces overall. The element of yogurt that distinguishes it most clearly from other dairy products is its probiotic content. Live bacterial cultures, specifically the lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains found in plain, traditionally fermented yogurt, have a documented effect on gut microbiome composition. Here's why that matters for the kidneys, specifically. The gut and kidneys are connected through a pathway that researchers have increasingly described as the gut-kidney axis. A healthy gut microbiome produces short-chain fatty acids that reduce systemic inflammation and maintain the integrity of the gut lining. When the gut lining is compromised, as it can be with antibiotic overuse, high-sugar diets, or chronic stress, bacterial toxins and inflammatory compounds pass through into the bloodstream and must be filtered by the kidneys. This translocation of gut-derived compounds is a recognized contributor to kidney inflammation and accelerated functional decline. By supporting a robust, diverse gut microbiome through regular probiotic intake, yogurt consumption reduces the volume of inflammatory signaling arriving at the kidneys from the digestive tract. Fewer gut-derived toxins circulating in the blood means less kidney filtration demand and less inflammatory exposure for kidney tissue. Plain, unsweetened yogurt is the appropriate form for this purpose. Flavored yogurts, even those that appear healthy, typically contain added sugar that undermines the probiotic benefit and contributes to the blood sugar fluctuations that stress the kidneys. Greek yogurt provides the additional advantage of lower potassium and phosphorus per serving compared to regular yogurt, while delivering higher protein. If you manage any degree of kidney compromise, Greek plain yogurt is the specific variety to prioritize. Half a cup per day with fruit, with a handful of seeds, or simply on its own, is sufficient to maintain meaningful probiotic exposure and protein support. Bringing it all together. What these four foods share is something more important than any individual nutrient they contain. Each one addresses a different pathway through which kidney function is strained or supported. Beans reduce the digestive waste load arriving at the kidneys and supply anti-inflammatory compounds that protect kidney tissue from oxidative damage. Tofu provides the protein the body needs without the heavy phosphorus and acid burden that animal protein creates. Apples offer kidney-safe hydration, toxin-binding fiber, and quercetin, a direct antioxidant for kidney tissue in a form that is affordable and effortless to consume daily. Yogurt supports the gut-kidney connection through live cultures that reduce systemic inflammation and lower the translocation of gut-derived compounds into the bloodstream. Together, they cover four distinct biological mechanisms that are all active in kidney health simultaneously. This is not about eating one magic food in large quantities. It is about building a dietary pattern where multiple supportive mechanisms are consistently present. Nothing in this video replaces your medical care. If your doctor has given you specific dietary restrictions for kidney disease, particular potassium, phosphorus, or protein limits, those instructions take precedence over general guidance and should be applied to how you incorporate these foods. The right quantity and preparation method for your specific stage of kidney health is a conversation worth having at your next appointment. What I want you to leave with today is a different relationship with the choices you make 3 times a day. Your kidneys are processing your blood continuously. What you eat determines what they have to work with and what they have to work against. These 4 foods are among the clearest examples of food working with your kidneys rather than against them. Share this video with someone who is managing kidney concerns or who simply wants to be proactive about protecting their kidney health as they age. This information is most valuable before it becomes urgent. And subscribe to this channel because this is exactly the kind of practical, mechanism-based guidance we provide consistently for people who want more than vague nutritional advice. Your kidneys have been working for you every hour of your life. These 4 foods are among the simplest ways to start working back,